I'm Monique with Ladybug's Cabin. Thanks for joining me. We are going to have a little fun today talking about the joys and fun of bobbinwork. Bobbinwork is one of those really amazing things that you can do with any standard machine, and you can use all those beautiful metallic threads that are a little persnickety when you try to put them through your machine, or the really thick threads that you can't actually put through the top of your machine. You can still use them in the bottom. So just going to do a quick demo today talking about how you can get started playing with bobbinwork.
You can use bobbinwork in many different areas in quilting. It's fun to create entire focus pieces out of thread. You can also use your decorative stitches on your machine in order to create some beautiful interest to the top of your quilt or your projects, great along the seam lines, or even to make it look as if you've done some hand stitching. In today's demo, I'm going to show you how I like to use bobbinwork in certain areas of my applique projects, so I can create some beautiful effect without a lot of work. The applique project that I'm working on today is my Choir of Poppies pattern. This is one of my flower patterns that gives you optional instructions to create three-dimensional petals using Terriel Magic. Part of the joys of getting to do bobbinwork is playing with the gorgeous threads that are sometimes problematic in using them with your machine. Ricky Timms has a beautiful Razzle Dazzle thread that I absolutely love to use. Wild Eyes Candlelight is another one of my favorites, and you can actually make it look as almost like you're beading on your fabric by doing this with the bobbinwork instead. Any thick thread, metallic thread, even some yarns and the beautiful pearl cottons are wonderful choices to use in bobbinwork. I also absolutely love to use 12-weight threads in this technique because they add a lot of body and you can find some really beautiful threads out there. With a thicker thread, you do want to feed it through the little hole in your bobbin and give it a little wrap around just like normal, but you're going to avoid putting it through your normal tension guide on your machine. So place the spool on the machine, but then don't put it through the tension guide that you normally would. Instead, what you're going to do is hold the thread with your other hand and let your finger move it up and down in order to wrap it onto the bobbin evenly. You're basically doing the tension guide with your hands in order to make it run smoothly onto the bobbin. Once you've chosen your favorite thread that you'd like to use in your bobbin, it's time to choose your top thread. You won't be seeing much of this thread, if any, when you're working, but it is important to make sure that the two work together harmoniously. You can choose one that will complement your bobbin color and almost disappear into the mix. You can choose one that is in the same value or tone so that a little bit might show but not a lot, or you can choose one that's completely fun and exciting and adds different texture and color into your projects. I like to use a really nice strong embroidery thread in the top of my machine when I'm doing bobbinwork. The reason for this is that it's designed to do a lot of stitching and have a lot of strength. It's also nice and lightweight, usually around a 50 or a 60 weight thread. That way you have the strength as well as not building up a lot of extra layers on the back of your project as you're working. If the thread that you'd like to use in your bobbin is a normal weight thread, or one that would actually fit through your machine and your sewing machine needle, then you don't actually have to adjust the bobbin case tension. If, however, you'd like to use the more decorative threads, the thicker threads, you are going to need to make an adjustment to your bobbin case. If this stresses you out, it is possible to just put the bobbin with the thick thread in your machine and bypass the tension guide in your bobbin case altogether. You won't have as smooth of a stitch, and you might end up with a few little loops on the top of your project, but it is possible to do this technique without having to worry about adjusting your bobbin case tension. I prefer to have two different bobbin cases. I will mark one here. You can see that I've marked it with a little bit of silver paint. That way I know this is the bobbin case that I use for my bobbinwork, and I'm going to be adjusting that screw for the tension guide as much as I'd like, while I keep my separate one for my sewing, for regular piecing, quilting, and all the usual things that I do with my machine. To adjust the tension, you want to find the small screw that is on the side of your bobbin case. And you take a screwdriver, and remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. You don't really have to make a huge adjustment in order for this to work. You want to put your thread in, test it to see if the thicker thread is going to go through the tension guide now smoothly. If you feel a lot of friction, you want to loosen it a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a huge adjustment, but you do want to make sure it's a good one. In order to have a really good quality stitch, you're going to want to have some stabilizer on the back of your project. My favorite is Totally Stable, but if you have your favorite stabilizer, feel free to use that one too. When I'm going to use Bobbinwork on my applique projects, I will do some basic stitching on my applique first before I set myself up to do the Bobbinwork. And in doing so, I'll make sure that I'm going to outline any areas that I would like to do my Bobbinwork using a thread color that will allow me to see that area when I turn over the project and I'm looking at the stabilizer facing up. When both threads are ready to go ahead and get yourself into the area that you'd like to do your Bobbinwork stitching in. And then you're going to drop your needle, holding on to the top thread tail, and then you're going to lift your needle again. It's great to use the needle up, needle down button in this instance, just because the machine will then be in the exact right position that it will release the bobbin thread. If you don't have a needle up and needle down position and you feel like there's a little bit of tension in regards to getting your thread up, you might want to just wiggle your hand wheel just a little bit to find that sweet spot. I like to pull on either side of that top thread and shimmy it a little bit until that thicker thread comes through. It may feel like it's a little bit of a struggle at first, but if you keep working at it, it'll eventually come up. Now begin stitching, going at a nice even pace, slightly slow to start to make sure that you don't have any issues, filling in the section that you would like to have the Bobbinwork show up on the top of your applique. In this instance, I'm trying not to go over any of my stitches or spend too much time in one area so that I don't bulk up with the Bobbinwork thread underneath. Once you reach the end of the section that you want to put the Bobbinwork thread in, you're going to repeat the process that you did to start, meaning that you're going to sink your needle, pull on that thread to get the bobbin thread to the back of your project, snip that loop, and then tie the two threads together on the back of your project in order to secure them. Make sure that you tie both the end and the beginning so that you don't have any loose threads coming through to the top of your project.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope that I've inspired you to play a little bit, try something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me either here, on my website at ladybugscabin.com, or on my Facebook page. I'd be happy to chat with you, talk about a project that you're working on or something that you'd like to be working on. Don't be a stranger. Let's have some fun together. Happy quilting!